I'm a journalist, and I'm traveling across my home country, Canada. On this journey, I'll be experiencing some of Canada's most fascinating destinations. My next adventure begins in East Central Canada, in the province of Ontario. I've come to the province of Ontario. On my trip, I'll be meeting people and going to places that will teach me about the Underground Railroad and the freedom seekers who came to Canada and have helped to build a large, vibrant Black community in this country. The province of Ontario was the main terminus for the Underground Railroad, and my journey begins in Amherstburg. The town is nestled on the shores of the Detroit River and Lake Erie, and is about a 25-minute drive from the Windsor-Detroit border. I really wanted to learn about the Underground Railroad and the freedom seekers, so I've come to southwestern Ontario, to Amherstburg. And I'm at the Amherstburg Freedom Museum. I'm with the curator there, Mary Catherine Whalen. Mary Catherine, tell me first, what is the Underground Railroad?
So the Underground Railroad wasn't actually a railroad that was underground, but is a secreted network of paths and hiding spots that people used to get to freedom in either those free states in the United States, like Michigan or Ohio, or to freedom in Canada.
And who were the freedom seekers?
The freedom seekers were those who were escaping enslavement in the United States to freedom either in the northern United States or freedom in Canada.
Can you give me a sense of the time era of when the Underground Railroad would have been running?
So the height of the Underground Railroad period happened after slavery was abolished in Canada on August 1st of 1834 to when slavery was abolished in the United States in 1865. But people were coming back and forth across the border before that time period.
And as the curator of the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, can you take me on a journey of the stories and what we will see as we go through the museum?
When people visit the museum, we take them through our two historic sites. So we've got the Nazarene African Methodist Episcopal Church, which we're standing in front of right now. And that church was built in 1848 by formerly enslaved people and people who came into Canada as refugees. The church was also a terminal station on the Underground Railroad, and people, when they were coming across the river, could seek out places like this church to find refuge here, food, shelter, clothing, whatever that they could offer. We also bring people on a tour through the Taylor Log Cabin, which is named after George Taylor, who was formerly enslaved in Kentucky, and he actually escaped across the Ohio River, enlisted in the Union Army, and he was honorably discharged, and he did settle in Amherstburg around 1870.
Can you take me on the journey of what it would have been like to be a freedom seeker escaping and coming to Canada? Was it a difficult journey?
The journey was difficult and dangerous and fraught, and there were many obstacles in the way. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly how many people came up through the Underground Railroad, but researchers estimate between 30,000 to 40,000 people made this journey into Canada through the Underground Railroad. But that's not accounting for people who may have lost their lives along the way. So it was a very difficult journey for many people, and some people were aided by abolitionists, but not everyone was lucky to do so. And the journey was often made under the cover of darkness at night on foot.
And once they got to Canada and they arrived here, were they safe?
No, that's a popular myth that exists. Just because slavery was abolished in Canada on August 1st of 1834, that didn't necessarily mean that people were safe. There were bounty hunters and slave owners who were trying to come into Canada and reclaim people and kidnap them and bring them across the border, even though it was illegal for them to do so. So there are many different hiding spots that did exist all over Canada. We don't have a record we don't know for sure if it happened here in this church, the Nazarene AME Church, but there are record of it happening at the Sandwich First Baptist Church in Windsor, where they had actually hid people under the floorboards of their church.
Oh, it's just so frightening. Well, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with me and for giving us this opportunity to explore the museum. Thank you very much, Mary Catherine.
It was my pleasure.
While I'm in Amherstburg, I really wanted to meet a descendant of the people who came here with the Underground Railroad. And I'm with TJ Travis. He's an Afro-Indigenous artist who lives in the local area, and he is a descendant of people who were enslaved that came to the area with the Underground Railroad. Tell me first, how did you find out this information? How did you learn about your ancestry?
Growing up in my family, we had a book called The Long Road, which was authored by Charlotte Perry, and in that book, there were two vintage pictures of my ancestors dating back to the 1800s. This inspired me later on to work with a genealogist who was able to trace my family back to the 1700s. We learned that my oldest known ancestor was enslaved upon a plantation in Virginia. He self-liberated, traveled from Virginia to Pennsylvania. He was able to purchase a parcel of land, and he started a freedom town, which was known as Liberia at the time.